Obviously, it's been a big story that Tony Hinchcliffe went and bombed at this Trump Madison Square Garden rally. And Jon Stewart here plays defense for some of the racist jokes he made, the very unfunny jokes that were actually just political statements. And I don't really like Jon's approach here. And Jon's going to say, oh, this is the point of roasting comedians. They're going to be roasting and saying offensive things. But no, Tony's not roasting anyone in the room. He's making political statements and using comedy to hide those political statements and not having any accountability because he's like, oh, I'm just saying jokes, bro. I'm just saying jokes. And Jon's giving him perfect cover for that when the rest of the rally was using the same rhetoric, just not hiding behind jokes. The same exact rhetoric. It was Tucker Carlson using the words Malaysian and Samoan as insults to mean low IQ, suggesting that Kamala Harris is genetically inferior because of her race and because she is a woman. And these sentiments were echoed throughout the entire night. And Jon Stewart, for some reason, feels the need to give it some type of cover here.
Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does.
He made one or two actual jokes. The other things, like the Puerto Rico thing, they were just general statements he thought would play well in the room. There was no punchline to those. The jokes Jon is about to show are actually skillful. They are actually a little bit funny. And Tony is actually making fun of people in the room. So when you're an edgy comedian whose only purpose is being edgy, I think that's cringe. In most scenarios, you need to be really good to do that effectively. But also, it's terribly cringe, and like George Carlin talks a lot about this, it's terribly cringe when you just say things that you think is going to be popular with the audience and you pass it off as a joke.
I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, yes.
Now that's the point. Those had structure. Those jokes were funny. So when you say really offensive things that you are, unable to say in other places, you're pushing the limits in a comedy club, it makes sense to say that. And those are structured jokes. You aren't just saying like, in other news, there's a giant island of trash floating around and it's called Puerto Rico. You're just calling Puerto Rico trash. You're not making anything other than a general statement. And Tony bombed at other comedy clubs doing that joke. And he told everyone it's going to play a lot better at the Trump rally. And that tells us Tony knew the Trump rally was going to be racist enough to say that and have it pass. But no one laughed at it because even the Trump attendees knew it sounded terrible and it wasn't even a funny joke. You're supposed to make it so funny that people don't care that you said something offensive.
It's, of course, terrible, boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry.
He was there making an explicit political endorsement. At one point, he was just reciting Trump slogans. It wasn't about coming and doing a comedy routine. If he actually came in the room and did this and roasted some of Trump's supporters and made some jokes that played on what was actually happening in the room, that would have been great. But he came and did a mockery of a comedy set and instead just made it fully political and expressed his actual beliefs and tried to hide it with comedy. That's disrespecting the art form. When you're hiding your actual beliefs with comedy and you're saying, I don't know, bro, I'm just a comedian. Whatever I just said, I don't got to be held accountable for it because I'm a comedian. It was a joke. Bro, they weren't jokes. They were there was no structure. There was no punchline. Tell me what the punchline was to the Puerto Rico garbage joke. Tell me exactly what the punchline was that we were supposed to find funny other than, oh, Puerto Ricans are living in a trash heap, I guess.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, bringing him to a rally and have him not do roast jokes, that'd be like bringing Beyonce to a rally and not have... Oh.
Beyonce came, and the first thing she said was, I'm not appearing as a musician or a politician. I'm appearing as a mother, in my personal capacity, here's why I care about these things. She wasn't hiding behind her art to make a political opinion. She wasn't saying a bunch of things to demean groups of people who were not in the room and then passing it off as comedy. You know, you have to actually put effort in and show skill to make those jokes. They didn't bring in a roast comedian to make roasts. They brought in a roast comedian to just try to appeal to the crowd. And that's on Tony. That's on Tony for making a terrible set that wasn't funny. I guarantee you, if you got Shane Gillis in there, and by the way, the jokes were approved by the people who organized the rally. So I'm wondering if that was one reason Tony went with such bad jokes. But if you got Shane Gillis in there, bro, with his background, he'd be going hard at those Trump supporters. That'd be hilarious. And the jokes would be super offensive, but they'd be so funny that we wouldn't care. And we would know that as they're pushing boundaries, as these comedians who are very edgy and, you know, we can say things no one else says because we're comedians and we're not scared. If you're really not scared, then go against the people that are in front of you. That would have been hilarious. That would have been true art. That would have been actually pushing boundaries. But instead, you just towed this line so you could be a political hack and so you could disgrace your own art form. And I really just don't I don't like that. And I don't like Jon Stewart bringing all this up as like an excuse and saying that everyone's overreacting to it